Good afternoon or good evening, and welcome to this week's edition of Sunday Night Live, the show where we talk about all things automotive, variable ops, fixed ops. If it has to do with automotive, we talk about it, and I bring on the guests who are subject matter experts in their fields, in their areas. And what I do is I like to tie it all together so that we all have a better understanding of how all the pieces work and fit together. And where some dealers might need help, you might have a friend at another dealership that might have the same problem. So what better way than to have an expert talk about it and share some of the intel and things like that. So the title of today's show is, if you don't know how much money you're losing on your phones, then you don't know Jack. But guess what? You're in luck because you are about to meet Jack Behar, that is. And Jack and I worked together with Dominion years ago. And Jack is a phones expert, not just phones, but the intel behind the phones, because that's really where the secret sauce is. So without any further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Jack Behar. Jack, why don't you tell us a little bit about you for the folks that might not know you, and then we'll dig in.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. I'm not sure what part of the country you're in, but I do appreciate you guys taking the time out on a Sunday to join Paul and I to talk about telephony. So I've been in the telephony space now 40 years, since 1980. And over that course of time, I started as a sales rep, knocking on doors, just like everybody else, worked my way up into a number of different executive positions with some of the largest carriers. I started two companies. One we took public early in the 1990s. And the second company, I got into the whole digital space. We provided we were the back end for a lot of the free internet services like Net Zero and AT&T. And we built that company worldwide. So my core background has always been in telephony and phone systems. But over the last 12 years, I've been in, we started Interactive, and I've been working with thousands and thousands of different dealers, either helping them migrate into a new phone platform, or helping them with where AI helps a dealer, and what really happens to all those leads, and why every owner really talks about how do I get my guys to stop selling just the low-hanging fruit. So 40 years, I've built out some of the largest call centers, both in automotive and outside of automotive, and I'll just name two outside of automotive. I was involved in the build-out of Bellagio and across the street at Caesars. Here in Houston, Continental before United bought them, and American Express. So talking about call centers, these call centers have in excess of 3,000 people. So today we should have some fun, and again, thanks Paul, and thanks for everybody who's joining.
So as you can see, Jack knows a little bit about phones.
I do.
So, a typical scenario, our audience here, for the most part, is automotive. And a typical scenario at a dealership on the phones, let's say, in service, okay? You want to call up, you want to speak with somebody to make an appointment or find out about your car. So you call up, somebody answers the phone. Sometimes they answer with who they are or where you're calling. Sometimes they don't. Other times you're explaining why you're calling in, and that person doesn't want to interrupt you. So you've explained your scenario, and they come back with the dreaded, "Oh, I'm sorry, I picked up the wrong line. You want so-and-so in this other department. Hold on, please." They put you on hold. You're waiting for a little bit of time. That loop music plays or the loop recording plays, how much they care. They tell you probably 10 times while you're waiting how much they care, but you're still waiting 10 times. That person picks up the phone. You go through the same scenario again. "Hi, I'm Paul. I'd like to make an appointment. I've got an issue with this, this, and that." That person says, "Oh, I'm sorry. I picked up the wrong line. You want this other guy in this other department." So by the time you get to the third person, you're ready to rip their head off because you've already explained it twice, and now you're about to explain it 3 times. Not a good scenario starting off the relationship. Or they put you on hold and they forget about you. They leave you for dead, right? That call or the call drops. Nobody knows you called. Nobody calls you back. Or even if you leave a message for somebody, half the time they don't call you back. So in today's digital world, you got to ask yourself, how does your dealership's telephony platform manage all your leads, right? Because it's all about leads. We want the Glengarry leads. So how does, talk to us about that, Jack.
Sure. I also want the Glengarry leads. And I think you and I just age ourselves. So for those people who have never seen Glengarry, Glen Ross, that is the ultimate sales movie and who gets the good leads. And Alec Baldwin plays an ultimate role. And if you work for anybody or any manager that brings up, the ABCs of closing, you'll understand what we're talking about. But, the reality is you hit on a very sensitive point. First let me start by saying, think about this, everyone. You lose your email. The email goes down. You're not getting email. First thing you do is call your boss, you call the IT guy. I'm not getting any email. Phones are ringing, business as usual. I'm not getting your email. It's not the end of the world because we all know that once the server comes back up, your email is there. Just imagine, or if it's happened when your phones go down, it's the end of the world. Those calls are not coming back. They're not in queue somewhere. They're not being on hold. Your business is basically shut down. And that's what I start by talking to dealers. I tell dealers, look, you're driving leads into the store. The phone system is the heartbeat of your business. It's got to function at all times. And I'm not just talking about saying hello. What happens when you do say hello? Paul hit on a good part, the abandoned call. I'm calling in, I'm getting transferred, I'm done, especially on service. I'm just going to hang up, either call back later or call somebody else. And people, dealers don't see that because there isn't the reporting or enough correlation to what's happening in my service department because we're booked versus what we're really losing. On the sales side, which is even more critical because when you look at a store that's selling 125 to 175 cars a month, if you look at the advertising and marketing budget to drive leads into the store, so the leads come in via email or text, BDC departments are calling back and scheduling appointments. What happens after that? How many of those people come in? How many of those people are telling them, hey, thank you, all I wanted was information, or I'm not interested, or we just don't even call them back? We hear so many times, I called your store 3 times and nobody called me back. These are the pain points. But again, what we really want to do is drive those leads so we can have a conversation. Because guess what? We drive leads to an email, we start sending emails, and we're praying that they'll open up our email and they're going to call us back. So what is the best lead source? The best lead source is when we can play ball, 1-on-1, that I can give you a call back and we can have this conversation. And I call that, let's play ball together. So if we have the right infrastructure, and when that infrastructure gets put in place, how do we capture it all? How do we move that lead along? So if we don't have the right infrastructure to start, and most digital people don't even realize the power of the phone. They hear the dial tone, they can make a call. They don't realize how strong this can be. And the last thing I tell a dealer, I said, look, you're outside, you trip, you break your ankle, they take you to the hospital. So true. If you had a heart attack and they're driving you to your local hospital, I promise you're going to say, no, take me to the Heart Institute. In Hartford, I want to go to Hartford Hospital. Here in Houston, I want to go to Methodist, to the Bakey Center, because it's the heartbeat you've got to be concerned with. And that's what the phone system is. We can't live without it. And I can tell you, here in Houston, hurricanes come through. The dealers that have worked with us or prepare, they're always asking, how do I prepare if I lose something? Even if somebody cuts the lines outside, my dealership's down. Owners go haywire. And that's the key, Paul. Having the plan in place and understanding the power of the phone.
Now, we got a couple of comments on here. We got David Mumford says, hey, guys. And Michael Larkin, happy Sunday night from West Hartford, Connecticut. Oh, I don't think I gelled that you lived so close by, Michael. Ed Roberts says, good evening. I'm on my phone. Does that mean I saw?
Sure.
Marley's, good evening, gentlemen. Michael Landis, good evening, gentlemen. And Dan Stedham, evening, everyone. And Ron Usher, gentlemen, with a flag emoji.
Nice.
So the calls are important. Every dealership that I know of, other than maybe 40 years ago, has a CRM system, right?
Yes, sir.
So now I know that the CRM captures the data that's put into it by the salespeople when they decide to put it in, because salespeople can be very selective. Well, I didn't log this one because they were just looking, or they were just driving by. They're not really interested. Or, yeah, he just had a quick question on the phone. I think the latest stat I saw was what, like $633 or something per customer to make the phone ring? Does that sound about right?
It's there. It's there.
So in the ballpark. So you're spending this much money as a dealer. That's your money. That's not capturing all the data. But wouldn't it be cool if all those phone calls that came in somehow magically made it into your CRM? How does something like that work, Jack?
With a Tinker set that you bought at Toys R Us that's out of business. Yeah. So in today's environment, and I've seen so many phone systems or dealers saying, "Hey, how do I put all of this in?" You know, I'm using a call tracking company. Oh, we capture all of our calls. But then when I start talking to the owner, I go, "Just walk me through what they do." And he goes, "I don't know. Let me get the GM. Let me get the BDC manager." And you know, they all use tracking numbers, and we could talk about that in a bit. And that's good. They'll use click to call to make your outbound calls, and that'll go into the CRM. So that's just 10% of the activity at the store. What about all the calls that come in from the receptionist? What about all the calls that go to the service department or go to the salespeople or get transferred to a salesperson's cell phone? I'll talk a little bit about that later also. How does that happen? So in today's environment, that can happen. 100% of every call can get captured, identified either by a access code or an extension, whether it's inbound or outbound. It doesn't have to be click to call. And we push that into every CRM in Automotive. And now dealers have 100% accountability. And that opens up the eye of the dealer, because the first thing they say is, "I had no idea I'm getting this many calls." And I'll just give you a couple of numbers of calls. So we have over 4,000 dealers on some form of our platform call. So we've done studies from dealers that sell under 100 to dealers that sell over 1,000 a month. And I'll give you some ideas. Dealers that are in that 60 to 100 range, they get anywhere between 15 and 18,000 calls. About 15 to 16% of those are sales, inbound and outbound, click to call. But the other 84% is your profit centers, your service, your parts, your finance. And when a dealer looks, he goes, "Holy cow, I'm not even touching the surface." Let's go up to the next level, 100 to 150. That's about 25 to 30,000. When you get into the 200 to 300 range, it's about 35 to 40. We have dealers in the 700 range, it's 120,000 calls a month. We have essential BDCs that make 150 to 200,000 calls. And then we have, listen, there aren't that many stores that are over 1,000, but the few that we have, 160, 170,000 calls. Now you take that and say, okay, let's say 15 to 18% of that are sales related. The owner goes, "We have these opportunities. We can drill down which are, new leads, follow-ups. I should be selling 3,000 cars. And why is it not happening? And are we capturing it all?" Because the beauty is, what happens when a sales rep's not at a computer? He takes the call, he's outside, he's driving in, he gave somebody, which I call taboo, never give somebody a personal cell number, but he did. I forget about it. It's never gone into the CRM. Then that lead comes back in and as a follow-up, and all this, all this hectic stuff goes on. That was my deal. That's not my deal. It's not in the CRM, things like that. So when we sit down and I start analyzing what a store or a group looks like, we're doing right now, that's 27 locations, it gets really intricate. But the concept is 100% accountability of every call, whether it's a inbound and outbound, a sales lead from a call tracking number, or capturing the mobile component, whether you're using the mobile app from your CRM or using a mobile app that's part of the newer phone systems. Stores want 100%. And then here's the pain point. What do you do with it all, right? You've got to have the platform to analyze, and it's got to be analyzed in real time. So I hope I answered that question.
Now, you bring up an interesting point because, it seems as though every Tom, Dick, and Harry's got some kind of a phone tool. However, not all phone tools are the same because when you get that volume of calls, honestly, at the store level, who's got time to listen to all those calls to grade them, right? That seems to be a problem with a lot of stores. They may have it, but they don't spend the time to listen to them all.
Yeah, so most stores are using a call tracking company. Some of them analyze a portion of the calls. Listen, if you got humans listening to calls, even if they're overseas, the cost expenditure to listen to 20 or 30 or 40,000 calls, the number of people you would need, and the people would need to understand automotive. Otherwise, there's no value for somebody just typing a quick summary that you may or may not read. Right. So if you really want accountability, you've got to mix in a number of platforms. And the biggest platform is AI. I mean, 5 years ago in 2015, we launched an AI platform with Google. Today we're an alpha lab for Google. So we work jointly in building what we envision and what Google envisions. We're talking about $1 trillion company, the ultimate platform. And if you think about it, machines don't have personalities. They don't. I talk about Methodists. Doctors today work on your heart. They work using AI. They research using AI. So in automotive, when you look at machine learning and you look at transcription and you look at setting up what's important to a store and setting up, and the ability to have real-time alerts while they're happening is a game changer. Because whether we do it and we get a notice, if we get a notice 30 minutes later or 20 minhave that person's gone. Have a good day. I'm texting, I'm typing, I'm calling and telling my boss, can't get him on the phone, can't get him on the phone. So what do? We rip that one up and say, let's move to the next one. But, AI, depending on the platform, can process millions and millions of calls simultaneously. And again, it doesn't break. It's not human. It doesn't have a personality. So while that process is happening, it's helping sales or service people get better. It's helping managers engage in real time. So that low-hanging fruit just becomes that. I got a lot of opportunity here, and I'm still going to close the layups that I get. So using machine learning is becoming a game changer in automotive, and it's getting better. But again, when I talk to dealers and they show me the platform, it's really silly string put together. We're going to do this, forward it to this. It's going to go here. We're going to do this. It's not the way it should work. Your phone system has the capabilities today, or I shouldn't say every phone system, but what we're talking about today and the phone systems that are out there have all of that natively. So it's not silly string. Call comes into the receptionist, comes into one of the tracking numbers that goes into the BDC. It's all working together like a locomotive going down the tracks, and things start happening. Alerts are going to the manager. Do you want to jump in on this call because
now, right now. So somebody's having a hard time on the phone, it picks up on that, right?
Absolutely. If somebody mentioned competition, hey, I'm looking at ABC competition. So for the guy up in West Hartford, I'm looking at Hoffman versus who's the other guy right on Connecticut Boulevard, that big dealership. There's Hoffman and
Jangris.
Who? Jangris. Yeah. So if I'm telling him I'm thinking about going over to Jangris and it's whatever, that manager, if he's available, he can jump on that call in real time. If he's not available, seriously, just like this. If I say the word Jangris or I say the word Hoffman and I'm looking to buy that car, I'm in on that call. But let's just assume I'm working a deal, I'm penciling a deal, I'm doing something. I get it on my phone in real time so I know as soon as that's done, I'm going to walk over and help this guy. And that's just a small part of what conversation analytics really do. Training. I want to share something with you. I'm working with another vendor and helping them build out their platform. And we were listening to a couple of calls that we got a notification on. And follow my thinking when I talk about training. Dealer owns 2 Honda dealers on opposite sides of the town. It's out east, southeast. I won't mention the dealer's name. Cole came in and it shot off immediately that it was a missed opportunity. So we were talking to the dealer and he called me up and he goes, I got to tell you something. As an owner, I didn't care because we got the deal. We just got it at the other store. But my GM went, ape crap over this. And I said, so what was the end result? He said, the end result is we're training a receptionist. So what happened was the prospect called in and wanted to buy a car, and the receptionist was taking the information and said, and the prospect said, I've been to your other store before. It's a little bit closer. So again, this store spent the money to drive the call, should have gone to a sales rep and let the sales rep work it at least.
Right.
It says, let me set you up and transfer to the other store, and they'll help you. And we triggered a missed opportunity to the manager because he missed it. They're buying that car. They're buying that vehicle. They're just not buying from that store. The owner on top said, I don't really care. I got that deal. But the first thing he told me was, we're pulling her in on Monday. We're going to be training her never to do that again. She's not the salesperson. Get that call over to the salesperson and see what they can do. Because the stores are about 15 miles apart. You make that deal work. But what happened? Huh?
You drive an hour, no problem, without even batting an eye.
But we made that, but the big key was on a missed opportunity, that GM knew about it instantaneously, and he jumped over it. Now, he couldn't call the person back because when you really listen to what happened, she was so nice, he set the appointment up at 1:15. I would have sent one of my reps over there to that store at 1:15, picked them up, right? Because that's my deal. I mean, if we really think about it, but it's true, when I talk about conversation analytics, for everybody that's on this call, if you're not really using it the right way, it really is amazing. Not only for the sales side, but the marketing side. So look at insights, what people really talk about, and whether they're talking about competition, whether they're talking about specific cars or specific issues. I'll tell you here's one for you. Oil changes are profit centers. You want to bring them in for an oil change and you can upsell them. Now dealers are studying how many people have called in for an oil change because I got, let's say, 175 requests and did 88 of them. What happened? Did we not have enough bays? Did our oil change area, we don't schedule appointments. We just tell them stop by and they leave. But there's so much you could find out about your dealership, so much you could find about what's happening in service. Was my service advisor rude? How did I handle a difficult customer? Who's using profanity in the store? Is it, I have a dealer in Atlanta. Every call where a customer talks to their service advisors and uses profanity, he calls them back. And he just tells them, you don't need to come back to my store. There's no reason to talk to my service advisors like that. Or did the service advisor was rude? Or did the bank and the finance department work on a rate that the finance department didn't get? And now they have a copy of it. So it's amazing. It's a game changer. And I always tell, and this is, people always ask how much? It's free. It's going to sell more cars. It's going to make your CSI score better. It doesn't cost you a damn thing. And that's just a fact.
Now we got a couple comments here on the side. Let's see, what do we have here? We have Rudy Tremenio. Now, a lot of people may not know Rudy Tremenio, but you may know him as El Patron. He says, hey, I know that guy. And Tully Williams says, hello all. Stephen Kaplis, phone is nearly always the final point for a customer before coming in. That is true, because I'd rather talk to a live person that knows what the heck they're talking about to guide me through the process. We got Kenneth Dunner says, another Houston area friend in the house, Jack Bihar. This Kenneth lives in Sugar Land. I have no idea how far that is from you, because I have no sense of direction. Is that far from you, Jack?
Nah, 20 minutes.
20 minutes.
El Patron, ¿cómo está? That's my man. He's killing me. You gotta give that guy a hand, man. He's killing it in Queens.
Michael Larkin says, I'd like to see Jack's opinion on retargeting pixeling as a lead capture system. We use it on a landing page in most of our campaigns.
Game changer. If you can pixelate, you can, it gives you the ability to track. But let me, one thing you got to think about is what do you want to happen? Again, if you're driving it through, specific DNI, dynamic number insertion, and making sure you're capturing that call, that's huge. Because, when you're doing it through Google and Facebook and, other platforms, you're really capturing. And, first let me tell that person, I'm not digital. But we also pixelate in our company, and we're tracking everything that we do. But I want to make sure that you're setting everything up through DNI and making sure your campaigns are being isolated so you know which ones are working and which ones aren't.
That's a great thing about data. It's not personal. It has no ego, but it gives you all of the answers that you need to be able to make the right decisions with all of the monies that you spend to get customers in the door or to keep them coming back.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Now, we're talking about the phones before, mobile phones, where the phone gets transferred to the salesperson's cell phone. Now, I don't know if you guys know this or not, but once that customer goes to the cell phone of the salesperson, it becomes questionable whose customer that really is. Because guess what? When that salesperson leaves your store and goes to work for competition, I mean, it's possible that they may leave your store and go work for somebody else. Guess whose phone number they have? It is now our customer. It is not the dealer's customer anymore. I know I haven't worked in a lot of stores, but I can tell you that I have customers that have bought 3, 4 different makes from me over many years because they had my number, I had their number, and they bought me. They didn't necessarily buy the store. One of the stories I like, one of my favorite ones is, last dealership I worked for was a Subaru store. And I met these folks at Saab years ago. They bought a Saab 9.5 from me. Then I went over to Lexus. They bought several Lexus from me. Made one other stop, and then I ended up at Subaru. So I get a call that their son, who had bought that Saab from me, was looking to replace the car and wanted to know if I could get him another Saab. Well, there weren't many of those cars around anymore. They didn't know anything about Subaru. Guess what they're driving today? They're driving a Subaru Forester. They knew nothing about Subaru. They knew nothing about Forester, but they know me, they trusted me, and they bought. So all of the salespeople that now share your customer's data, aka their phone number, that's a problem for you if you own a store, if you spent the money to get them in. However, if you have a system where, with a digital, voice over IP, where you have specific controls, right, Jack, on the phones where you can, through an app, your salespeople can access and you can shut them off. How does that work?
Sure. So there's a number of ways. Listen, every time I walk into a dealership, what do you see? Either an earbud or a phone, glued to the salesperson's ear, and unfortunately, it's a mobile phone. So there are platforms, and again, the platform that we work with, the mobile app. So we can give the dealer either a mobile app, and that mobile app ties into the CRM. So every call that comes in and out from that mobile phone is tied to the CRM, just like a desk phone. Actually, in your neck of the woods at Hoffman, those sales guys don't even use desk phones; they use mobile phones. And if they don't like the app, they can actually buy an iPhone or an Android, preferably a Samsung Android, and natively those phones record, track, just like your desk phone. That's everything like your desk phone. And again, if you terminate them or if they quit and they're going to go to a competitor, as soon as they leave your store, 3 buttons and that phone is completely wiped out. That app is gone. They can't log back in. All that information is wiped out. If you gave them the actual mobile phone, then obviously it's part of the company. They would return it because it's an expense, like you bought somebody for $1,100 an iPhone. But with the technology today, you know, the mobile apps that are tied to the newer systems, they're all accountable. It's, you know, the big thing is, you know, we started building the platform back in 2008, and we built it by listening to the car dealers, to owners. When you worked at Dominion, I sat down with the folks there that worked at dealers, and they said, this would be great, this would be great. And as, you know, over the years of progression, we listened to owners, we listened to BDC managers, we listened to the IT staff, the service side, and we take all their wants, and if it makes sense, we build it. But the most critical component of the phone system, like the heartbeat of your business, is accountability. Right. What's happening on that phone? How much did that lead really cost me? You know, is Car Gurus better than Auto Trader? You know, they can battle it out. But I will tell you that I've seen reports from all three of them, Cars, you know, Auto Trader and Car Gurus, and they'll say, hey, you got 300 calls here, you got 200 calls there. But I always tell the dealer, ask one question. I don't care how many calls they got. How many unique callers? How many first-time callers came in? Because that's what really matters. The first-time caller came in, and did I do a great job? Did my team do a great job in making sure that caller has my contact and not calling back over and over, because that skews numbers really quick. So your phone system should be able to do an ROI. How many new callers, what's your spend, and what's the cost per call, what's the cost per appointment. If you're not getting that, I'm telling you, you need to take a step back and look at the veins and the arteries to that heart.
And I mean, people, they have no idea how many calls they lose.
I just, you know, when they go through our ROI platform, and some of these dealers looking, especially high end, you know, I'm spending X, and X can be a few $1,000s. I'm only getting 6 to 10 calls. It's costing me $1,800 an appointment, costing me, you know, so much for, cost per call. You start saying, can I spend that money elsewhere and drive more activity? And that's what, you know, we have to do today as we're coming back out of COVID, right? We have to watch the spend, and we're going to get the biggest bang for the buck. Also, when that phone rings, you get your teams need to be trained on how to handle it. Because Paul, you hit on a good point. People buy from people. People got to meet you, so they saw you. But in today's environment, I'm not coming into the store. I don't know what you look like.
Right.
So it's the voice. It's that warm feeling. You know, sometimes you talk on the phone, you know, and I've been doing this for, you know, for a very long time. Prior to, telecom, I spent a year and a half working for Canon, selling copiers, knocking on doors. World Trade Center was my territory. So back in the day, it was just picking up and dialing for dollars.
Dialing for dollars.
Yeah, you got to make 50 calls a day, every day, 10 appointments, you know, drove 4 demos, 1 sale. But the reality is people are listening to the way you speak. They're listening to how many odds are in your conversation. It's kind of like you got to make friends on the phone. Yeah. You know, a blind date. I guess that's the best way to do it. You're on a blind date. You're answering the questions. It's speed dating. You had about 2 minutes to capture the imagination of that person who's looking for that car. If you do a great job, you're on there for 5 or 7 minutes. Now we have a shot, and if you don't want to come in, we're going to come to you. We're going to sterilize that car. First thing we're going to do is we're going to give you a mask and gloves. We're going to step out. You're going to take that ride with your family and tell me what you think. Because that's where we're at. There's a huge paradigm shift on what's happening. So you can't do that in an email. You can't do that on text.
No way.
You got to build that rapport. And when you get that rapport, the curiosity sits in. Who am I talking to? It was awesome. I want to come out, or I want him to come out, or her to come out.
You know, that's funny you mentioned, you put it into that perspective, like speed dating. that reminds me of, what was that show, The Dating Game?
Mhm.
Where you couldn't see the person, but they answered the questions.
It's a
And
voice.
they made the decision based on the answers that they were given. And that's really like today.
Yeah.
Because I had a guy called, we were shopping for a car, and I called, I called the store, and this guy literally started to argue with me on the phone. And he was telling me things. He didn't know my background in the business, but he was telling me things that were blatantly not true. And I challenged him on it, and he starts arguing with me. I said, "Hey, buddy, are you looking to make a sale, or are you looking to win an argument?"
Bottom line, and for anybody that's selling or servicing, you have to think that way now. This may not be somebody that I may meet at the store. I may be going to their house, or I may have to do video. They may not even want to come in, and we're going to send some video over to them, and we're going to keep on them. But if you build the rapport, they're going to take your call. If you're a yes, bunch of us, not knowing your product, they're just going to move on. They know. And sometimes it's as simple as what you sound like on the phone. Living in Houston, right? Everybody knows I'm from the East Coast, and I'm here 13 years, and they still say you're a Yankee, and I'm like, it's irrelevant. So I'm trying to say, y'all, it's never going to happen. But my kids that were born here, they've got the y'all to a science.
Now,
Yes, sir.
So it's more critical today because, let's face it, a lot of places, not all, but a lot of places got shut down through COVID. And of the ones that brought people back or were able to get people back, because there's two sides to that equation. Some of the people don't want to go back, and some of the stores don't want some of their people back. So they have to be hyper efficient. They have to do more with less, and a lot of stores did get record months. Okay, Rudy, for instance, posted a record day the other day. I think they sold like 17 or 18 cars in one day. That store's never done that before.
Yeah.
Right? So if you have less people answering those phones, it's even that more critical to be on your phone game, to know what you're missing. You can't fix something if you don't know it's broken. And it's very easy because we're always busy, right? Everybody's too busy for everything at the dealership. No time, no time, no time. So why not leverage technology and pull in the manager when is needed with some of this automatic intel? Are you seeing a lot of stores affected from the COVID? As it relates to their phone process?
Knock on wood. That was loud. I hope everybody heard it. Texas wasn't as impacted like most of the country, like New York, where the salespeople, I got calls from the dealers in Brooklyn and Long Island where they were working from home. The Central America, central part of America, like the Dakotas, where it really wasn't impact. But, you pray for the dealers in Pennsylvania because they basically got closed down. And, one of our clients owns, 18 stores out there. And he just said, we're going to start, we're not even sure if we're coming back. We're probably going to look for a buyer. So, yeah, I see both sides. You hear, like Sunrise, Rudy's store, they're people are coming back in now, right? But if you think about April and May, what a lot of these guys went through, what they don't, the saying is, what you don't know, you don't know. But when I send an owner a report that said, today you had 9 or 10 actual real leads come in, and you look at your CRM and say I only have 4, they question me. They say, what are you talking about? I said, it's in your inbox. Just listen. And what they listen to is, I've got the wrong people in the wrong space. So what I started telling them was, why don't you put your very best people on the phone, take the leads, and don't cheat the sales guy that's maybe new or just not as good, but let a good, like a strong salesperson handle that incoming lead and then pass it through. Build a relationship, bring them in, give it over to the next guy. And this way you'll see a lot more activity because anybody can, sell that low hanging fruit. I'm coming in, my lease is over. I saw the new Tahoe. You know, it's not going to cost me any more money, or maybe cost a few bucks more than the Tahoe I'm trading in or coming off lease. That's easy, right? That's all that follow up. But the guy that is not that Chevy owner, that may have been a Bronco owner or an Expedition, and he sees this, you got to be good at the phone. Because, you know, sending that email, did he open it? Did he not open it? Are we tracking? Is he going to call me? I don't have his phone number. You know, and the one thing, and it goes back, I'm not a great digital guy, but I do want to say one thing. On your websites, when you're filling, you know, when you're setting websites on forms, there's, you know, I would say 70% of the dealers don't make the phone number mandatory. So you're getting the email, and then you start chasing. You may never hear from them, right? You get an automated email back through the CRM. And I asked them, why don't you do it? Well, half the people put in BS numbers. That's fine. You call back, it's BS. But what about the other half that actually puts the number in, and you call them back and they're talking to you?
Right.
You know, one of the things I always tell a dealer, you know, you make the name of store mandatory, make the phone number. Because if that person answers, you're in the game. And that's all. And that's all you can ask for from a manager, a GSM and GM and owner is, I want an opportunity. I want to play ball and see if I can earn your business. You know, whether, you know, we win or lose, it was money well spent. But there's a whole pile of leads that start here. Let me make sure I'm on video. Start here, right? And the one you're gonna close is that funnel down here. Why don't we stretch it out a little? I actually had a store that said to me, I don't believe the number of leads that we get. So they listened to every one of them and they compared. And the guy goes, your machines are, you know, the machine learning is pretty amazing. We never have to do this again. And then you take it to another level. What do you want to listen to? You want to listen to the pissed off customer? Or if I'm selling a high-end Corvette or a high-end something, well, those I want to be involved in. I'm going to have a specialist, somebody that's been well-trained, maybe went to Ron Fro's training school on everything about the Corvette. I want that specialist that's going to buy that. Or if I'm selling Toyota, I got to have a Land Cruiser specialist. We have a large group in Texas sells, you know, they sell a lot of cars, and the smaller store says, I don't get that many requests for Land Cruisers. We don't have them in stock. So we ran, you know, the keyword Land Cruiser. We set it up for sales, and he has 2 in the showroom right now. One outside on rocks now, you know, slanted. He had no idea, because it's a saying, what you don't know, you don't know.
Right.
And, you know, there's a lot of companies out there that help out. But making sure you utilize the tools, it's a game changer. And it really starts at the core, the phone system. That's why I tell dealers, you don't need all of these pieces. The right phone system is going to give it everything to you. And you need the phone system to make your dealership work.
And here's the funny thing. Ever since the phones were first invented, no business has been able to do without the phone.
Yeah.
Right.
Phones are good. Phone engagement is going up. It's about 70 or 75%, because dealers know you're converting the leads. You know, how many stores in the last 3 years, and if, you know, people are online that have been involved in this, how many stores have either built a new BDC or farming out a BDC to a third party, to an expert, and watching their business grow? Because you really need to be good on the phone. You know, it's got to, you know, you've got that 2-minute rapport building. So if you got great people that are good on the phones, man, it's just amazing what your store looks like. And I always tell somebody, if you grow your business, this is God's honest truth, it's simple math. If you grow your business 5% a month in the new year, so from January to December, 5% a month, what do you look like January the following year? So I got an answer once. I'll need to build a bigger service department, right? Because I'm up 60%. So, you know, it's not my line. Everybody uses it, you know, crawl, walk, run. So if your goal is, you know, 5%, that's cool, because it's steady. You know, too many times I hear, we had a great month. What was your month like before? It was horrible. Just caught up. You know, if you can get that steady growth, 5%, Now you're growing at 10, all the way up. Then when you look, I'm at 60% of the curve, and I'm like, I can't believe I did it. But the tools will help you. You know,
Yeah.
drive the activity. You have the right people to pounce on it, and have the technology, tap you on the shoulder. It's like you're on the phone, Paul, and it's going sideways, and the manager's, in his office, and it's like somebody tapping him and say, "You better walk over there."
Yeah,
Because
you got a problem brewing.
still, and that's how real it works. It's in real time. We're not talking about 10-minute delay, 30-minute delay. Boom, and they can actually log on and watch the calls in real time. Because I built large BDCs, I built for a 5,000 seat call center for American Express. I built for a store that's selling 40 cars. They have the same opportunity and the same technology to get to 50 cars and keep maintaining at 50, then go to 60. Have that service department grow. It's there. You can take advantage of it. And the craziness is 90% of the time, it doesn't cost more than what they're spending now. Sometimes it actually saves them money. We save a tremendous amount of money.
Well, the amount of money they blow, I mean, they don't typically factor that into what it costs them because they don't know how much it is. And we got a couple of questions coming in. Paul Macon says, I probably didn't pronounce your name properly. My apologies. I'd love to hear how the power of data, AI-driven process is changing our industry for the better. I think you got into most of that, right?
Yeah, and let me just answer. What's his first name?
Paul.
Hey, Paul. We talk about what you don't know, right? Think about this, Paul. Let's make believe I'm Kevin Costner building Field of Dreams. And I told you anything and everything you want to know about your store. Anything. How many times somebody mentions the competition? How many times somebody is upset about their service or their pricing? And I can give you that information at your fingertips in real time. Would that change your business? Now, let's assume you don't need it in real time, but you want to run daily, weekly reports. How many people brought this up or brought that up? So it gives you the ability to help you manage your business in every aspect. And I'm not just talking about sales. I'm talking about all your profit centers where you make the money.
All of it.
How many times somebody brings up, so in Texas, Discount Tire is humongous. Up in Connecticut, it's been a while, Town Fair.
Yeah.
But I know, and I've learned for a fact that when I needed tires, my dealership would say, "Hey, come on, let's pull up, Discount Tire. Let's see what they're priced at. We're going to give it to you at the same price, or we'll save you 10%, or here's a rebate for an oil change or whatever." So you're going to buy from them. But how about having a report that says how many times somebody brought up, they're going somewhere else for tires? It's a profit center. So it really just gives you everything that you need to know.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. It gives you more data than you're even thinking about at the store level. So I guess in the setup, you can set up specific alerts of the different things you're looking at. So you could map out exactly who's going to this competitor, who's going to that competitor, who's bringing up this topic or that topic, or who in your store is the problem in your service department or in the parts department. You can take all this data, not to browbeat anybody,
Nope.
but to train them, right? Because at the end of the day, we just all want to be better. If we're all working together nicely, like a fine-oiled machine, everybody wins.
Here's another thing, and that's 100% right. But also for training, also for lost production of time. How many people in the store are not working? They're on the phone doing something else. It's amazing when you see, a lot of admin people spending an hour talking boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, and wife issues instead of working. And as an owner, if you multiply that by the cost it's costing you to have somebody there by the hour, the G&A cost, right? And they're wasting time, and it's not just one call. It could be 5, 6, 10 calls, 15 calls.
Every day.
Yeah. Oh, as a store, I'll tell you one thing. When we launch and we talk to all the employees, the first thing we tell them is personal calls need to be made when they get breaks, because you'll be on. We'll know. We'll know. The other thing is, you're talking about service. We pick up voice inflection. We pick up what the human ear doesn't hear, and that's powerful. And we do it in multiple languages, 83 different languages.
So if somebody's on the phone and somebody else is talking smack about them in another language, you can pick that up.
You pick that up. But the language itself. So let's say we're talking Spanish, or better yet, Cantonese, because there's five languages, and we're doing this for a dealer in Brooklyn. The whole call has to be in Cantonese. We can't have English and Cantonese. It has to stay in Cantonese. And so when they put up on their website, for Cantonese, dial this number, the sales rep keeps the whole call in Cantonese. Same thing in Spanish. You have to keep it like in Spanish. The whole call has to stay. So if you're talking and it's broken up, it doesn't really work yet. We're getting there, but it's still in the lab. And when I talk about the lab, I'm talking about not only Interactive Tel Lab, but we're talking about Google's lab.
Got a couple more coming in. Kenneth Dunner says, Jack, I'm originally from New York City, Manhattan, Harlem to be exact. And Steve Cheston says, what about transcription of calls?
Sure. So first of all, the guy from Harlem, I'm from the Bronx, and we've always had a rivalry in sports. But I played a lot of, in my day, I played a lot of ball at Mount Morris Park, Rucker, just to name a few, Riverside Church. So it's transcription. Here's the magic about transcription, and I'm going to go through it. So we transcribe the whole call, both ends. It's in stereo, so 2 channels of the call, me speaking, customer speaking. But a 10-minute call, who's going to read that transcription? You'll be there forever. But we transcribe it so we can pull out the information that's important to you. So first of all, you have the transcription if you ever need it for training or legal. It's there. And the transcription engines today are so much better than they were 6 months ago, a year ago, and 3 years ago. Our transcription engine is about 95%. It blows people away when they watch as we're having this conversation and they watch it going on. It's pretty mesmerizing. It becomes really mesmerizing when we build in, we have a platform called Insights. So it's not what's important to you, it's just insights in the auto industry. It's just all the conversations of auto, and they see it popping and it starts getting bold. But we take those transcriptions, and that's where we develop our summaries and our alerts, because we're picking it up. So when somebody says that I'm going to Hoffman and I'm not going to buy a Gengris, we pick that up. We're going to let you know right there. We're going to tap you right there and say, hey, jump on this, because he's going to go across the street and he's going to go see, Chip Gengris right away, or he's going to see Michael Hoffman, which, it's already too late. 30 minutes after that, it's over. So, Top Gun's coming out in December. Keep our fingers crossed. But if everybody remembers the scene with the big fight, and the captain is saying, how long for that jet to come up to help whatever his name was. It wasn't Tom Cruise. It was the other guy. It was Val Kilmer, and I forgot his name. It's not Goose. Whatever his name, Ice. To help Ice up there. If you guys remember, the person that was running the elevator said it's going to be 10 minutes, and the captain said this will be over in 3. It's no different in automotive. If you call that guy back 10, 15, 20 minutes later, it may be over already. He sees I already crossed the street. I'm looking at somebody else. I'm not taking that call. And then becomes bantering versus doing it the right way. Because let's face it, if I was a sales rep and I was talking to Paul and my manager wanted to come on, he comes on the call and it's a whisper to me. We don't engage the customer or the prospect until he says it's okay. But if I told Paul, hey Paul, before you hang up, my manager would just like to speak to you. What prospect doesn't want to talk to a manager? First thing is, I'm going to get my deal. I can end this. I really don't enjoy going dealer to dealer, right?
Yeah.
That's why Barney's made such a big hit many years ago. They had a great slogan when they were on 17th Street. They said, why go store to store when you can go floor to floor? And it's true. You walk into Barney's in New York, it's an amazing experience.
You're not leaving without buying something.
Yeah. So, the tools that are available to help managers. Now, the last thing I'll say about managers, and I'm not throwing anybody under the bus, but if your job is to help close that deal, you'll be very busy. That's the absolute, that's the absolute truth.
And you know what's funny about sales is that sometimes a simple other voice, a salesperson could be talking to somebody, get nowhere, and a simple TO, especially where you get somebody that's tapping you on the shoulder, hey, I need a TO, I need some help. I mean, that how do you even put a value on that?
And here's the other thing. Let's just say manager was busy, sales rep didn't go to the manager after the deal because he's embarrassed he couldn't close the deal, right? I think I'll turn on the light. It's getting dark out, so get a little light. But think about it. Managers still know about it. As soon as that call hangs up, as soon as this receiver hangs up, manager gets an alert right there. It's called a missed opportunity. And he'll have all the information about that missed opportunity on his phone and his email, and he can call right back. So if it was a 4-minute call, 4:01, he'll have it as a missed opportunity. And at 4:02, he can just press the button and he's in that game. Hey, I understand you just got off the phone with Paul. I was trying to jump on. I was just finishing something. We want to earn your business. You have a few minutes so we can talk. I want to understand why you're not coming in or why you're not buying the car. And I want to earn your business. Tell me what we need to do and let me see if I can do this as a manager. It's really simple. It's not 10, it's not 15, it's not 30, it's not an hour later. That receiver hits the phone, we're teeing you up.
Because literally, they just got off the phone with you.
Absolutely.
And they're calling me back right away. Wow. Well, that was fast. Whereas, like you said, 30 minutes later, they're already in another car somewhere.
Yeah. What we're trying to make sure the lead that comes in, or the person that called in, or the person that stopped in and you're calling back, we want to make sure that dealer has the very best opportunity of closing them. And if it's not closing, at least the managers can decide. There's a book out there that I read 20 years ago. Don't fire them, fire them up. So, when I can listen to one or two of these type of calls with the sales rep, I can make them better so I don't have to keep babysitting them. And that's another value. We have a number of different training companies that, use our tools or tell their clients, hey, you need to put this in because we're going to make everybody better. And that's the strong part.
We got a question coming in from Guy Menis.
Mm-hmm.
It says, ask Jack what percentage of dealers actually realize a phone is like a walk-in up or drive up in the service and accounts for it accordingly. Always amazed at how dealers don't grasp this opportunity.
It's a phenomenal question. I don't think many do. I think owners get frustrated. But what was his name? Guy Manassi?
Yeah.
Guy? Hey, Guy. I think when owners start seeing the data, the reports, and they start realizing, then they start instituting, getting, trainers out there. But the problem is, what you don't see, you don't know.
Right.
So if I don't know what's going on, because how do I find out? So as an owner or GM, I'm so busy doing 1,000 different things. I need it to be in my face. So if I can put this in your face, then all of a sudden the parachute, the brake comes on and says, we've got to change because guess what I'm doing? And I think everybody's going to agree. How much business are you driving to your competition? That's the question. I spend $100,000 a month in lead sources and marketing, but how much of that do I actually close? And how many of those people that become in the market am I driving to the competition? And you may be picking up from your competitors, same thing, but we'd like to see you reduce that, and that's a big key.
Well, we have one last one from Kenneth. He says, I went to Fordham Preparatory School in the Bronx.
Nice. Go Bronx. The Bronx, DA. The Bronx.
You know, an hour show seems like a long time, but when you get into the data and you get into the information, it's really not a lot of time. So we've come upon the hour. So I want to thank you, Jack, for sharing with us
Yes.
all this wonderful intel, a lot of stuff that many of us probably didn't know. I want to thank the viewers tonight. If you guys saw value in this and you think it's something that would help you, Jack, if you could put your contact info in the comment section here. This way, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out. And share this video, share this broadcast with your network, because everybody relies on business to come through the phone. And everybody has a phone. And what I've learned over many years is that many problems are shared among stores. They just don't necessarily know it. So with that, thank you everybody for attending this week's Sunday Night Live. We look forward to you joining us next Sunday. We'll have another exciting guest and more information. Oh, we got Michael Larkin coming in. Great question. I steal that one. How much business are you sending to your competition? Love it. That's a beautiful one to end on.
Yeah. Hey, really quick, how do I put my information in the comment? I don't see a place I can do that.
After the call, I'll work with it. So stay on. We're going to log off the show, and you stay on back, and we'll talk about it.
I want to thank everybody for joining. I love your comments. I went to Taft High School. What about? Yeah. Thank you so much. And Paul, thank you so much. On a Sunday night, I'm sure you guys can be doing something else, and thank God there's not a lot of sports going on right now.
That's it. So don't go away, Jack.
Cool.
Thank you guys, and we'll see you next week.